I've had some where I've actually depended on my safety harness to hold me in the tree stand because in order to get the shot off, I had to basically stand at the edge of my tree stand and lean forward
Oh,
until I could, hold the strap and then lean forward. It's like, okay, it's holding me, and then take the shot.
yeah.
And yeah, if you've never practiced that, that can be, nerve-wracking where you're trying to depend on the safety harness to hold you in the tree stand. And
Yeah, for sure. And
you know,
I
I
think that I think that there's something to be said for putting on your hunting gear and shooting, and then and when once the season starts, continue to shoot. Continue to practice. I I have seen, and I've done it myself, where as the weather gets a little colder, you don't want to be out there shooting, in the cold, but you just make yourself do it because you want to know what you're if you've not practiced that shot, for instance, what you mentioned, then when it comes time to make the shot, do you want to really be doing that when an animal's in front of you? You've never used that technique.
because I don't want to, cover the whole thing again here, but yeah, it's definitely something you need to practice getting in and get out of your tree stand. If you do fall, how are you going to recover?
Right. And I've actually had an accident in 2011. Went with a buddy hunting. He sent me to a stand that had been hung. I didn't know when it had been hung. I was just anxious to get there because it was a good farm. And I get to the stand and back then I was using safety harness just like I do now, but I wasn't staying attached to the tree. I used the screw-in steps to go up, got on the platform, and was putting the safety harness around the tree, and the stand broke, and I ended up with some pretty bad injuries. So making sure you have a safety harness, and after my accident in 2011, I was very fortunate. I didn't have more injuries than what I did, and I work in healthcare, so I knew how bad the injuries could have been, and so I was very fortunate. But having a good safety harness and more importantly, practice your system. Practice
Right.
putting your stand if you're using a hang-on stand and your sticks, making sure you practice that. You don't want to be doing that in the middle of deer season, trying to figure out how your steps work or how your climbing
Right.
stand works. There's some. It doesn't hurt this time of year to you know use that equipment and get used to it.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we covered in the um, that course. I was talking to the safety guys is, practice hanging off of them because one of the things that he brought up is your safety harness can be holding you, but it cuts the circulation off to the blood to your legs if you don't
Yeah.
have some way relieves it.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
it builds up an acid. And then once you get the blood flowing again, you have a heart attack. Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely something that you need to plan on. And then one of the things that he did was he had extra carabiners and on a rope, like have just carry some extra ones.
Yeah.
I think I got these three at Cabela's. They're like $30 or something like that for three real carabiners that you can use. And it makes it nice because then you can, um, use those with a rope and you can stand up on them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you can, um, you can relieve your pressure on them. And then we actually went over a process that you can actually descend down your lifeline.
Yeah.
And well, it basically, it's fairly simple, but if you haven't ever done it, and it takes a long time because you're on about 6 inches at a time.
Right. Right. Well, the main thing is, being able to descend safely without hanging there. There's been so many accounts of people, they find them in the tree and they didn't fall, but they basically cut off the circulation. So what we do is not, I mean, it is absolutely not easy, being in um, being in a hunting situation and not having had practice your safety equipment is ludicrous.
Well, and one of the things they brought up that I hadn't really thought about is, where we normally keep our phone in
Yeah,
our chest pocket or our back pocket. If you're
yeah,
hanging from a harness, you can't get to it.
right.
So that's all something you want to carry. And, some of the things that I started looking at carrying, some of the fire starters like the a char cloth.